edition of T Watches a Scary Movie. My name is T, and of course, we are talking scary movies. I appreciate y'all tuning in for another brand new episode. Remember, new episodes go up every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, but as I'm always releasing extra horror content throughout the entire week, the best way to stay on top of everything I'm putting out is to get subscribed to my Linktree. And you do that by going to linktr.ee/T Scary Movie. If you get subscribed to my Linktree, that'll give you access to my YouTube page for the video versions of the show, to your favorite podcasting platforms for the audio-only versions of the show, to my Letterboxd page for my written reviews and my movie rankings throughout the year, to my TikTok page for my short horror content including movie news and movie premieres, to my Twitch page so you can catch me gaming anything horror, and lastly to my Fangoria shop page where you can enjoy my 20% discount on anything in the Fangoria shop, including the yearly subscription to their physical magazine. So hit that subscribe button, so especially if you are watching on YouTube, as the more subscribers I get, more content I'm going to be putting out for all of you. We got a lot of great stuff coming up this week here, y'all. Tonight, we are jumping into another episode of Interview with the Vampire. Season 2 is well underway at this point, and we're in the back half, the second half of the season. I'm excited to break down last night's amazing episode with all of you. But other stuff we have coming up for you this week, we are jumping right back into the After Dark Horror Fest Year 3 Festival. It's time for us to jump back on that bandwagon, and I am going to go ahead and hit Critters 3. It's that time. I did Critters 1 and 2 earlier this year. It's about time to go back to the vault again, and we are jumping into Critters 3. We're going to check this one out. I have a review here for you later on this week, so hit that subscribe button. But let's go ahead and focus on Interview with the Vampire. Now, last night's episode, don't be afraid, just start the tape. It left us off from the previous week's episode to where we were focusing a lot more on Paris. So we got to see that Claudia became inundated with the vampire troupe and was performing, but she was already growing tired of what she was doing, as they had casted her to play a child over and over and over, and that was having a very adverse effect on her. But we also know that Santiago, the leader of the troupe, had been investigating both her and Louis and had found some information that could give him what he needs to kill both of them. All of which that Louis is aware of, all of which Armand is aware of as well too, and Louis basically set up a bit of a trap for Santiago to get this information to see what Armand would do with it. Now, this week's episode very much took a turn from Paris. We did not have much of a focus on that, and instead we shifted gears back to the 70s here with Louis and with Daniel, as Daniel makes a request in presence time to Louis that they could go back and talk a bit about the original interview that they did, the premise of the first book, the premise of the movie, basically everything that that Louis would have revealed to Daniel. And it's a very tense moment when he asked this, because Louis is very much trying to focus on his story, Armand's story, Claudia's, Lestat. He's not really that concerned about rehashing what happened between him and Daniel all these years ago. But Daniel makes this request that after all of this and everything that they've been through, he just wants 20 minutes for himself to go back over this. Because as we've seen in the last few episodes, Daniel was recalling a lot more of what happened in San Francisco, and that Armand was clearly involved, and that's something he didn't realize for himself at that time. But Louis also has some memories that aren't lining up from that as well too. And we know that Armand has been manipulating a lot, and for what reason, we don't know just yet. But this episode, y'all, was an absolute heartbreaker. I said it last week, and I'm going to say it again. Every week, this show continues to get better and better. It is anchored by some of the best performances that we're getting on the screen right now. So, we head back to the 70s, and we find that Louis has taken Daniel back to an apartment that him and Armand owned, and the whole goal here was for Louis to regale Daniel with this story. Now, of course, Daniel just was under the impression at the time that Louis was just trying to pick him up. And Daniel in the present time does ask if the two of them did actually hook up, which Louis responds, no, they didn't. But Daniel was very much under the impression that that's what Louis was looking for. And we find out after Louis helps pump Daniel up with drugs that he really was going to share all of his secrets, his entire past. And what's very interesting about it seeing this played out in television, and I have to compare it to the movie, because in the movie, we get, 2.5 hours of this story kind of being all played out, and we're told in a very truncated version, and so we get a lot of that emotion. We absolutely did from the original movie, but it's hard to say as much emotion would be there if we had gotten as much time as the TV show has given us with these characters. And so seeing everything Louis gone through thus far, both before he became a vampire, after he's become a vampire, and his relationships with Claudia, with Lestat, with Armand, and more, we feel the pain that he's going through. So regaling all of this to Daniel, who is impressed by him for sure, but it's also incredibly painful for him to do this as well too. And what kind of caught me off guard was the fact that Daniel's mistake here in pushing Louis seemed even worse than what it was in the movie, because at least in the movie we had this sense here of, it kind of made sense of why Daniel wanted to be a vampire. He didn't get the point through it at all, but he listened to the story. There not really much of the way of any breaks or anything, and he took from it that Louis just needed a different companion, somebody who sees the world through the eyes that they're supposed to, and takes it for what it is, and then that would be the right companion for him. And he didn't get it, and it basically led to Daniel losing his life at the end of the movie, if you've seen it. Now, in the TV show here instead, Daniel's very much on a bit of a drug bender at that point, because Louis has completely filled him up with any drugs of his choice. And so when Louis starts sharing all these deep, personal, private moments, on one hand, Daniel gets it. He's taking that information in, but on the other hand, he's trying to move all past that. He kind of sees it as, look, the issues with Lestat and the issues with Claudia were they sucked. They didn't get it. They didn't have the right mindset. They weren't sane. They weren't the person that you needed. Basically, all these wrong things about them, and that he's better than both of them. And the fact that Daniel actually puts that into the air is like the most dangerous thing I've seen happen on this show. I legitimately had to forget for a second that Daniel survives the present day. And it kind of brought up my theory from last week that Daniel could be a vampire, because it's like, yeah, the shit that he was saying, basically, you could see the look on Louis' face as that anger was growing. I was like, oh my God, he's about to murder the shit out of you right now. All for this interview. Like, what happened? Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And, there's a lot of different interpretations we can take from why Louis was telling Daniel all of this, because this, of course, leads to a fight with Armand, which we'll talk about. But, was Louis genuinely interested in Daniel? Was it a case to where he knew Daniel was somebody who could take in everything Louis was saying and maybe might not have all these questions? Because he's a reporter. He's an interviewer, basically. He's not there to give his opinion on things, well, at least in past tense. And not there to give his opinion on things. He's more so there to listen and write down and journal. And the fact that he so flippantly throws out his own opinions on all of this and stuff he shouldn't be saying, it makes you wonder why Louis came to him in the first place. But it also poses some questions about what's going to end up happening in Paris, because I think this episode, more than anything, helps to maybe confirm the fact that Claudia is still in for the same fate. That if you're familiar with the mythology of this franchise, you know where that's going. And so that was a bit heartbreaking to kind of get more and more confirmations that that's where we're leading. But even more heartbreaking than that, and this is this episode that's going to leave you in tears, honestly. It's making me tear up just think about it, honestly. But Armand and Louis' fight was like so heartbreaking, because over the course of the 2 seasons that we've watched, Louis never been this mean. He's never been this angry. And for a few moments, he turned into Lestat. And if you recall back in season 1, some of the fights that Lestat and Louis had, Lestat was vicious. He was angry. He was evil in some of the ways that he chose to bring Louis down, and even Claudia in season 1. And the fact that Louis, after everything that he's been through that we've seen thus far and that he said, could do this to Armand. And Armand's not innocent. Armand is not innocent at all. There's more and more references in this episode that he absolutely played a very big part in whatever's about to happen to Claudia. And so he's not innocent from this, but you always get this sense from what we've seen thus far, even with the manipulations, that he's there for Louis and that he wouldn't do anything purposely to, completely hurt him. He wants to take care of him. He wants to love him. And so hearing the things that Louis is saying and throwing barbs at him for, his relationship with his maker and where he is now and just how mean and evil it was. And Armand coming back with some of the stuff that Louis been through. And it's kind of interesting because you see a lot more of the pain in Armand in that fight than you do with Louis. Like, you can legitimately feel, like, I swear to God, tell me in the comments if I'm crazy, but you could legitimately feel this performance from Assad Zaman as Armand, putting it out there, saying these mean things back to Louis and absolutely hating to say each and every single one of them. And at that point, he's kind of just fighting for his life because this person that he loves in front of him is saying these things and he just won't come back down to earth at that point. It was an amazing, amazing scene. And Jacob Anderson and Assad Zaman just did amazing. They did such a fantastic job with this, y'all. Honestly, again, favorite episode of the series right now. Every week it gets so much better. But that's not to be outdone by Eric Bogosian at all as Daniel, because you see the way that he's kind of pleading with Louis for a lot of truth and for memory and to help him remember what exactly happened there. And as he starts to realize more and more and more about this situation, and that in truth, Louis saved his career, that even with all this pain that went out there, that Louis took steps to take care of Daniel in a way that no matter everything he's been through in his life, he still had his back at that point, giving the two of them this bond that has just carried on more and more and more. And I thought that was absolutely beautiful, juxtaposed with Louis' suicide attempt. We see that after Louis and Armand get in this colossal fight, and that Louis just does, like, he says these evil, hurtful things, including telling Armand that he's just boring. He's bored with him, that there's no life. There's like the blood is not there, basically, and that he got more from Daniel in a matter of hours than he got from Armand in decades. Heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. And Louis just decides at that point that he's done. That after all these things that Armand has brought up about Lestat and Claudia, that it's just finally too much for Louis in this life. He can't lead anymore, and he goes and steps out into the sun, the first time that he's seen the sun and how long at this point. And Armand saves him. And it's such a powerful moment because after everything that happened, Armand still chooses to save Louis. And things are not better when they're brought back in and going through everything. This is a very, very heavy episode, to say the very least. Like, y'all can see, it's still affecting me quite a bit, honestly, but it was so beautiful. And the realization at the end is setting the stage for these last 3 episodes and the hell that's absolutely coming with it. And looking at the titles here of at least the next 2 episodes, like the light by which God made the world before he made light, followed by I could not prevent it. And that is the one that stands out to me, because with that name of episode 7, I could not prevent it, that lets me know, or tells me, or gives the implication that the next episode might be the last for Claudia. So stay tuned, because we have a lot coming here, y'all. This was phenomenal work from the actors in this, and considering that, all the supporting cast that we've gotten over this past season, and even in season 1, and this was narrowed down to 4 actors in this episode. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. You guys are killing it with Interview with the Vampire. Craig Zisk, I know, directed this episode. Wonderful episode. Jonathan Siniceros and Hannah Moskovich, phenomenal writing. This was a great episode. Best of the series so far. Y'all, I can't say enough about this world. I'm absolutely loving every single bite that we get every week with this, and you got to keep checking it out. Let me know what you think in the comments, though, folks. I got to be done here with that. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.
Boy here is a big fan of Fangoria. So, if you want to check out the world's best horror magazine that's out there. Get a chance to get yourself your own subscription, which I just got my first one back in 2022, and I don't regret it for a second. But if you want your own Fangoria subscription, or you like the Fangoria merchandise, then head over to the Fangoria shop and use my link if you want to save yourself some money, folks. That's an easy one to remember. Just go to shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW. Again, that's shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW, or use my specific code AXDEW at checkout. You can save 20% off your entire order, and that implies 2 subscription and one-time orders as well. You don't want to miss out, folks, because with the magnitude of horror movies we've had released in the last few years, and with what we have on the horizon, Fangoria is going to be your #1 source for all that great, juicy, bloody information in the world of horror. So again, head to shop.fangoria.com. Hey there, folks! Thanks for tuning in to Watch This Scary Movie. I appreciate you checking out another review or movie news, whether we're talking movies, TV shows, books, or games, whatever, it's all scary. Remember, you can check out new episodes every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on the YouTube page for video. That's youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. Again, youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. And you can check out the audio version on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Just search T Watch the Scary Movie or TWASM. Don't forget, my name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.